Hi, this is Janet Hamill. I'm in my study in upstate New York, and I'm going to be reading from my new chapbook, Baby Parade, which was written at the request of Annabel Lee for her vehicle edition just shortly after COVID started. And my concept of what Annabel gave me as a direction, and this was something she was doing in coordination with Bernadette Mayer, who we've sadly lost since then. But I think on Annabelle's part, maybe she was trying to give Bernadette a project to keep it going, kind of. But what I got from the directions I was giving was that this was sort of science mixed with nature, because at the time, Annabelle at least was very much into Thoreau. So I took, this is my version of what I took from Annabelle, and it's called, as I say, Baby Parade, and that's moi. I had about to turn 2, and I see it as an as above, so below. So I have mixed in with Pantoums about my childhood, from my earliest memories at the age of 2 to about the age of 13. I mixed in with those poems is what I call an acrostic of the alphabet, which is inspired by this concept of the, pareidolia, which is a phenomena in which the human mind sees the heavenly galaxies in the shape of alphabets, a shape of letters. I'm sorry, letters. So I saw that on the internet years ago and was completely taken aback by it. And so anyway, I'm not going to read the entire alphabet, the entire acrostic, but I'll just read portions of it mixed in with some of the poems. So here we go. Alhazen's only love was the night river over Arabia. Cannibalism occurs when galaxies collide. The larger of the two tears the smaller apart. I was raised in Hudson County, New Jersey. That's where I was born and spent my first 5 years. And we lived in a town called Weehawken, which was overlooked the Hudson. And my family was very involved. My grandfather was a merchant marine on the Holland America line. My uncles were all tugboat operators. My father worked in an office in Wall Street. But anyway, these are the earliest poems from Weehawken. This is called Slate Sidewalks. Marching across linoleum roses on the tablecloth every Thursday, our uncle's tugboats maneuvered the Holland America Line's ships. On the tablecloth every Thursday, the sight of the Queen Mary or Elizabeth, the Holland America Line's ships across the river on Dodd Street. The sight of the Queen Mary or Elizabeth learning to roller skate on slate sidewalks across the river on Dodd Street, in the only store, the television set, learning to roller skate on slate sidewalks, Howdy Doody and Buffalo Bob, Cowabunga, and the only store with a television set, marching across linoleum roses. I'm not going to explain anymore. I'm just going to read. This is the title poem, Baby Parade. In a crepe paper skirt in the summer of 47, Union Beach bows on my baby shoes, a baby crown and a wand with streamers, red, white, and blue suspenders too. Union Beach bows on my baby shoes. We promenaded down Front Street, red, white, and blue suspenders too, on the 4th of July without a stroller. We promenaded down Front Street, past the cars from angels with dirty faces. On the 4th of July without a stroller, I brought home the silver loving cup, past the cars from angels with dirty faces and blue ribbons pinned to my underpants. I brought home the silver loving cup and a crepe paper skirt in the summer of 47. We lived very close to Palisades Park, and while we lived in Hudson County and later when we lived in Bergen County, Palisades Park was a big part of my childhood until the Garden State Parkway opened, and then the shore became a big part of my childhood. So this is called Chestnut Mare. It was as good as Mommy's jewelry box. Hot dogs here, ice cold lemonade, stored among her sachet pillows. Get your fries here, Belgian waffles here, hot dogs here, ice cold lemonade at Palisades Park overlooking the Hudson. Get your fries here, Belgian waffles here. A painted chestnut's mare was caught in the wind. At Palisades Park overlooking the Hudson and the carousels, pipe organ, whistles. A painted chestnut's mare was caught in the wind, her eyes fixed on the cowgirl west. And the carousel, pipe organs, whistles. I was up in the saddle, holding the reins, her eyes fixed on the cowgirl west. It was as good as Mommy's jewelry box. It's another part of the acrostic of the alphabet. Flares erupt on the photosphere of the sun when solar loneliness becomes unbearable. Galileo Galilei's lens swooned over the moons of Jupiter. Infrared observation satellites hear the cool blue notes rising from black holes. When I was, just before I turned 5, we moved to further north to Bergen County, to the suburbs. And the street we lived on, or Rye-side, where I would live until I moved to New York City, was called Rye-side, and this is Rye-side. To see the angels in the dogwoods, burning holes where the petals flared. A woodchuck built a tunnel underground, flying down from the woods on Duke. Burning holes where the petals flare, I learned to ride on Billy's bike, flying down from the woods on Duke, like the field mouse in the attic. I learned to ride on Billy's bike on Rye-side, to old Rye-side and back again. Like the field mouse in the attic, you had to walk on the floorboards on Rye-side, to old Rye-side and back again. Houses sprouted in the rhubarb fields. You had to walk on the floorboards to see the angels in the dogwoods. It's Saturday matinees. When it rained on Saturday, one of the mothers dropped us off at the Palace in Bergenfield with padded armchairs in the dark. One of the mothers dropped us off for Westerns, The Fly, and Looney Tunes, with padded armchairs in the dark, passing popcorn as the curtain rose. For Westerns, The Fly, and Looney Tunes, there was too much lipstick and mascara on the cowgirls, passing popcorn as the curtains rose. The bottommost Turkish taffy, broken pieces. There was always too much mascara and lipstick on the cowgirls, but Hopalong Cassidy had a two-gun holster. The bottommost Turkish taffy broke in pieces when it rained on Saturday. Kepler's Mysterium Cosmographicum is a treatise on the oval joyride around the sun. The nebula of Orion is in the middle of a sword fight. My favorite part of the neighborhood we lived in was the woods. And I spent a great deal of time there with friends and alone. This is called In a Dark Wood. In a dark wood, I found myself leaving the movies at the Ortani. The chief lived across the street from the fox and a carpet of twigs. Leaving the movies at the Ortani, every branch was seemingly endless. From the fox and a carpet of twigs, light patches with stones and moss. Every branch was seemingly endless. In the new fort, spanning the stream, light patches with stones and moss. Most kids were afraid to be alone. In the new fort, spanning the stream, under beech, birch, oak, and maple skies, most kids were afraid to be alone. In a dark wood, I found myself. Another poem about the woods. Absence of birds. A total absence of birds. In the winter, the woods were forsaken, where Florence Street came to an end, a frozen network of ponds and bare trees. In winter, the woods were forsaken, doing figure eights on mommy's old skates, in a frozen network of ponds and bare trees, singing Chattanooga Choo-Choo, doing figure eights on mommy's old skates, made before Sun Valley Serenade, singing Chattanooga Choo-Choo all by myself in immaculate silence, made before Sun Valley Serenade. I was training for the Winter Olympics all by myself in the immaculate silence, total absence of birds. This is Christmas, one of the Christmas poems. Tiny Tim in Dickens' London. I watched Tiny Tim in Dickens' London before Mary gave birth to baby Jesus. My favorite version was 1938, Goose and the Spirit of Christmas Present. Before Mary gave birth to baby Jesus, to the left of the altar at St. Joseph's, Goose and the Spirit of Christmas Present, milk and cookies for Santa, carrots for the reindeer. To the left of the altar at St. Joseph's, Daddy sang in the choir at midnight mass, milk and cookies for Santa, carrots for the reindeer, covered with sprinkles, red and green, and silver dots. Daddy sang in the choir at midnight mass, came home and assembled all the toys, covered with sprinkles, red and green, and silver dots. I watched Tiny Tim in Dickens' London. The heavens. Quasars sit on the belt of a pin and don't give a damn. Radio telescopes pick up rainy day women in deep space. Time means nothing. After the Garden State Parkway was built, my grandfather retired from the sea, and he and my grandmother built a home down the shore, this place called Lake Riviera, which was inland from Point Pleasant on the barrier island near Barnegat Bay. That's where I spent a great deal of my childhood. And this is the blue gazing ball. The blue gazing ball. Sun rays filtered through copper water down to soft, dark sand and driftwood. At the bottom, I open my eyes in Lake Riviera, encircled by pines. Down soft, dark sand and driftwood. His days on merchant ships were over. In Lake Riviera, encircled by pines, Opa and Nana Bert built their first house. His days on merchant ships were over, a few miles inland, Point Pleasant. Opa and Nana Bert built their first house with the blue gazing ball out front. A few miles inland from Point Pleasant, they had white pebbles instead of grass, with the blue gazing ball out front. Sun rays filtered through copper water. We were, like I say, we were not far from the ocean, and we spent our summers down there. And the beach we would go to was Point Pleasant. This is portable radios. Waiting for the high crest of a wave, the specter of the John Minturn rose to keep the sailors safe at sea. The fishing boats went out early. The specter of the John Minturn wrecked off Barnegat in a storm in 1848. Fishing boats went out early for fluke, bluefish, and sea bass. Wrecked off Barnegat in a storm in 1848. Portable radios on every blanket with fluke, bluefish, and sea bass on the top 10. Volare was number 1. Portable radios on every blanket, publicizing lead dealerships in Coppertone on the top 10. Volare was number 1, waiting for the high crest of a wave. And this is the last of the astronomical acrostic poems I'll read. The Whirlpool Galaxy lives a quiet life in Canis Venaticia. Yesterday, the stars were older than the centuries separating us from the Pleistocene epoch. The zone of avoidance is a must to avoid. There you have it.